Sayo havai tat paramam brahma veda brahmaiva bhavati nasyad brahma vitkule bhavati tarati shokam tarati papmanam guhya grantibhyo vimukto mruto bhavati. Sayo hatai vai tat paramam brahma veda brahmaiva bhavati nasyad brahma vitkule bhavati tarati shokam tarati papmanam guhya grantibhyo vimukto mruto bhavati. Sayo havai tat paramam brahma veda. Sa yaha saha yaha, he who means any one of us. It's standard construction in the Shastras. Saha means he, Yaha means who. Havai tat paramam Brahma Veda. He who knows that supreme Brahman, the reality. Veda means knows the supreme Brahman, becomes Brahman indeed. Brahmaiva bhavati. Indeed becomes Brahman. In his lineage, none is ignorant of Brahman. Asya kule Abrahmavid bhavati. None is Abrahmavid. Nobody is ignorant of Brahman in his lineage. Asya kule. Kule means in his lineage. He crosses over grief, shokam, tarati. Tarati is crossing. Shokam, tarati papmanam. He crosses grief and sins, freed from the guha granthibhya, from the knots of the heart. He attains immortality. Amrutad bhavati. Vimukta, freed from the knots of heart. Can't recall where exactly we heard, we learned about the knot of the heart, didn't we? Can't recall. So the first line of the mantra is taken from the Chandogya Upanishad. You find many such sections of Upanishads are taken from the other Upanishads. And many verses in the Gita and other texts actually repeat certain verses from the Upanishads. So you find a commonality in their teachings. So it's very traditional to quote that way. So he who knows that supreme Brahman. Now, when he says he who knows, it is not scholarly knowing. The knowing here refers to one who knows this wisdom backed with wisdom. Means he who knows the scriptures backed with wisdom. Because most of the scholars are mudaha. Most of the scholars are not wise in that sense. So he who knows refers to the one who has transformed himself, is not just mere information from the masters, but one who has put in the effort for the transformation. In his lineage, none is ignorant of Brahman. Means having born into the family of that wise yogis only, we learned in the Gita, remember? Having born into that family of that pure and the wise souls, the environment, those who are born into that family also are influenced by his wisdom. So a man of realization will indeed influence, not to begin with his immediate family, Not only his family, he uplifts and transforms the entire society. Which is the famous verse in the Gita which talks about it. When does what is the purpose of a man of realization? You've got to be very specific with the answer. What is the purpose of a man of realization or evolved souls? What is the purpose? Gayatri Ma. What is their purpose, Gayatri Ma?
My main purpose is to uplift the humanity or to take along with them the next generation.
It should transform the society. Which is the verse in the Gita that tells this? Very, very famous verse. Shivaji is scratching his head. Let's ask him. He must have found the answer.
So you'll have to unmute yourself.
Yeah.
I'm not there, Guruji.
Huh?
நான் இந்த ஆமத்துக்கு வரல.
வரலையா?
நான் தெரிஞ்ச வரைக்கும் புரிஞ்ச வரைக்கும் அந்த அளவுக்குலாம்
ரொம்ப ஃபேமஸ் வேர்ஸ்
அது புரிஞ்சிருக்கிறது ஒரு நல்ல விஷயம் தான். அது நமக்கு இது தெரியாது அப்படிங்கிறது ஒரு நல்ல விஷயம்.
இவ்வளவு சொல்ற தெரியும் தானே? இவ்வளவு கிளாஸ் அட்டெண்ட் பண்றீங்க நீங்க.
இல்ல அந்த கான்டெக்ஸ்ட் we can get but connect to that particular sloka.
I know. A very, very famous verse, sir. No, yada yada hi dharmasya glanir-bhavati bharat abhyutthanava dharmasya tadatmanam sujamyaham. Whenever there is a decline of dharma, he says, I am born again and again, yuge yuge. Means every time there's a decline in dharma, a man of perfection is born to offset the imbalance. So in their presence, in their lifespan, that's the span of the life that they live, they only change the proportion of adharma and dharma. So when they could come in, perhaps when adharma is 80%, dharma is 20%. So they're born. And in their lifespan, what do? They influence and transform the society. So we are not able to influence our life partners. We're not able to influence our children. We're not able to influence our immediate family. And here we are talking of people transforming the entire society, generation. So what happens? In that 20% of dharma, they will be able to bring 20% dharma to perhaps 70% dharma. But there will be 30% of adharma still lurking. Ushama, please think before you answer. Why is it that they can't completely eradicate or nullify? UK. US is very busy. She will not be here. She is in a different Sangh. Sangh means company. She is in a different Sangh. We will not disturb her. Why? The question is, why can't a man of realization, none other than a man of realization, we're not talking anyone short of it, even he can't completely eradicate adharma or unrighteousness from the society? If it is 80% adharma, they can bring it down perhaps to 30%. Because I said think, she's not talking only.
No.
So I'm thinking, she'll say. Huh? You literally follow everything I say to the T, huh? Ramji? Literally she's following, sir.
No, Guruji, I'm unable to give the appropriate answer.
Fair enough, no problem. But any thoughts? Why is it?
Is it because, Guruji, that if adharma is there only, then somebody will know the value of dharma? They can see the difference between the real value of a dharma when you compare with adharma. Is it so?
So there is a point. There's a point when you say that, but why can't they nullify is the question. Is there anything that there is something they lack that they're not able to completely eradicate?
Oh, it depends on the people who are adharmic, Guruji. It depends on how intense they are in their adharma. Maybe it is very difficult to...
Even for a man of realization, huh?
Yeah, effort. I mean, they make the effort, but the other person's, this thing must be very strong, isn't it? They're not ready to...
Okay. I don't think so, but I appreciate your thought. Thanks, Sushama. Yes, Amitama.
Sorry, sir. Yeah. So I'd just like to try, sir. Could it be that, it reminds me of we lift ourselves by ourselves. So even if there's an enlightened being who manages to reduce the level of adharma, but there is a lot dependent on self-effort. So we can't be just reliant on others, getting us out of adharma. We also need to put in ourselves.
No, I don't know whether you get the context of the question. In a lifetime of a man of realization, he has been successful in shifting the balance of adharma, which was 80%. He brought it down to perhaps, let's say, 30% or 25%. Dharma, which was only 20%, he brought it up to, let's say, perhaps 75, 80%. Everybody or majority of people took to dharmic life. They started, they started following his footsteps. They went in the path of spirituality, but there still was a percentage they could not transform. They couldn't change. That is the question why. That what you say factually that they everyone has to put in the effort, but why is that still that person which adharma still lurking? Why couldn't they completely wipe out? It doesn't mean that they were not capable, because they have transformed that percent of the society. You get it? So it's a very technical point here. Seduji?
Maybe the world has to sustain, the Nama Rupa has to go on. If everyone is leading a dharmic life, then there has to be imbalance. Maybe he sees everyone also he sees self in everyone.
Who sees?
A man of realization.
Then why should he change that 80% of dharma?
He doesn't, his very presence makes everyone change.
That's true, but I'm going by the verse which says, Yada yada hi dharmasya. A man of realization is born when this adharma is high. Because why? What is the principle behind that verse? The principle behind that verse is law of demand and supply. There is demand for value systems. The society has degenerated to a point where there is total anarchy. There is no culture and value systems in a society. That's when there's demand for the higher. A man of knowledge or wisdom comes and supplies that wisdom. And his presence, the society transforms. So there is a demand and supply. Not that his perception of the Brahman is the same, but still the facts doesn't change. No, the fact is that the world is adharmic. So his teachings influence the society. So you're trying to shift the argument to an absolute standpoint. The question is from a relative standpoint. When he sees Brahman everywhere, is absolute standpoint. You can't shift the answer from to an absolute point. But I think you made a point that there has to be inequality. There has to be that existence of good and bad, because the right understanding is the world is nothing but opposites. The world is dvandva. The world exists only when they're opposite. The definition of the world is opposites. So therefore, no man can ever completely eradicate dharma or dharma from the society, or no adharmic society can completely wipe out dharma. So even in the worst of situations, there will be dharmic people. In the most dharmic situation, there will be crooks like Duryodhana. Like right under Lord Krishna's nose in the Mahabharata, there were crooks like Duryodhana and company. So in the best of times, there will be worst of people. In the worst of times, there will be best of people. This is because of the definition of the world, sir, which you rightly passingly mentioned on that. Okay, Ji. And this is the reason adharma cannot be nullified from the world. Shiva, jitna reason. Correct? So wherever you go, whatever we do, you will come across that proportion. But in societies, you find certain societies are very indulgent. You go to Las Vegas, you will not want to do a spiritual retreat in Las Vegas. Anga people want to gamble and indulge in all pleasures, all carnal pleasures, all indulgences is only there. So there are societies where they only promote materiality and sensuality.
Light is needed only when there's a darkness.
என்ன பெரிய உபனிஷதிக் வார்த்தை சொன்னீங்க நீங்க.
எங்களுக்கு தெரிஞ்சதுதானே குருஜி சொல்ல முடியும்.
No, I'm only appreciating the profundity of the statement, sir. I'm not sarcasm at all. I'm saying it's very nice. The way you said it came out very nicely. Only when there's darkness, there's light. Absolutely. Very true, sir. But it just makes our understanding, and all this understanding is not to make us scholarly. All this scholarly knowledge is of no use. As I said, in the scholarly references, but end of the day, have I got that wisdom in me? No, that I am not gaining wisdom to influence society. The knowledge should not be gained to transform others. Most of the time, we learn to lecture to others. The moment we learn, we are lecturing others. But the point here is one who has transformed himself, his lineage. So a Brahmana son who is so deeply involved in leading a life of a Brahmin life, a Brahmic life, obviously to a large extent will influence his children or his family or society, because he's so deeply involved in that life. So the quality of life, the quality of the culture in that family, there will be that streak of wisdom seen in that lineage. That's what he's saying. In his lineage, none is ignorant of Brahman. What a blessing. Huh? In those olden days, every householder was a guru. Now we have to search for a guru. The head of the family was a guru in that sense. Now, as a result of which, he crosses over grief and sins. Crosses over grief and sins. Tarati shokam, tarati papmanam. The sins refers to the mental agitations arising because of acting on desires. There is no desire prompted action. There is no desire. Therefore, there is no repercussions of acting on desire. There's no mental agitation, sin. There's no sin. There's no grief because there is no. When does grief arise? How do we interpret in the context? He crosses over grief. Shokam. Ramji, how do you interpret here, sir?
I think shokam comes when you're attached to something, sir. Attachments bring shokam. So if he has overcome attachments, then there is no shokam.
Can you explain, sir?
Shokam is grief. You have the grief when you are attached to something and that is lost. If you are not attached to something, then the loss or presence of that doesn't give you any, I mean, you're not emotionally attached to anything. So that is the best way of overcoming grief.
So grief suggests attachment.
Yeah.
And sin refers to?
As you mentioned, agitations, mental agitations, which are born out of desires.
So attachment refers to
Uh,
that you already have.
Correct.
Sin refers to that you
What
don't
you want
have.
to have. Want to have. Yeah.
So he's talking of two ends. One is to what you already have, what you want to have. So he's liberated from the avidya. The expression of avidya is desire, and the possibilities of desire is you attach to what you have, you develop an anxiety or expectation
You
or
want to have. Yeah.
what you want to have. Those both he has crossed. Why has he crossed? Because he has reached perfection. And in the Bhagavad Gita, the 3rd chapter, if I'm not wrong, in the 4th verse of the 3rd chapter, he compares a man of perfection to Naishkarmyam Purushoshnute. There he says actionlessness is perfection. You get that, sir?
Yeah.
Are you able to connect actionlessness here?
Yeah. At the highest level of, if you are highly evolved, then high level of evolution makes you more and more introverted and then less and less action oriented.
Alagadu. I don't think it's like that. So when they say actionlessness is perfection, what it means is, so at the very bottom of it, if you write actionlessness, is desirelessness, is thoughtlessness, is vasanalessness. So when they say actionlessness is perfection, they are referring to a point where there are no desires, no thought, no vasana. Naishkarmyam Purushoshnute. What is perfection? Actionlessness is perfection. And which he puts it in directly here in terms of there are no grief, tarati shokam, tarati manam, freed from sin and grief. Because we are trying to describe the absolute sense.
Yeah.
He's coming to the end of the text, so he's talking about that person who has attained Brahman.
So if you have exhausted all your vasanas, you become actionless.
Actionless. Actionless in the sense there is no desire prompted action. Sir, in contrast, a person who is not evolved, what would be his nature of action?
It will be desire driven.
Extremely desire driven, right?
Yeah.
With full of attachment, with full of anxiety for fruits, selfish motives, expectations, dejections, disappointments. Now, what would be the persona of the action as you change, as you evolve? What will be the persona?
Actions will become more and more unselfish, which are not meant for yourself.
I liked your comment other day, and just to bring everybody to what I'm talking, please allow me, Ramji, to say so, and please correct me. Ramji was nominated for an award. Are you still in Dubai, sir?
No, sir, I came back last night.
All right. So he just went for what was it? I don't know, how would you call it? You were the only nominee from India, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And of the 4 people of the whole in South Asia or Southeast Asia, I'm not sure exactly.
South Asia.
South Asia. He was only one from India, and he was being nominated for an award of the 4 people, and somebody else obviously got it. And your comments in the group when you said that, I said it did not make any difference to me. You know, didn't you mean it? I know you meant it, and you experienced it.
Yes, sir. Yes. Yeah.
Please enlighten us, sir.
I said I had no emotional attachment to winning or not winning, because it didn't make any difference to my. I mean, I never had any. I mean, I had no feeling towards it anyway. That
It didn't affect you.
yeah.
So that transformation goes to that. Also, you said in the group, no? That mind influencer, you're talking of somebody. How can you forget all that, sir? That also I only have to remind you. What is going on? I tell you, people will think I'm some very selfish fellow.
I said that this transformation.
Shivaji, நானே சாவி கொடுக்கணும், அதையும் நான் தான் சொல்லணும். என்ன இது? What is going on?
No, sir. I said that I mean, this transformation in me came in the last 4 years as I was hearing the lectures of Guruji, that how to keep the mind unattached to these things. And I said that Guruji should actually get a award called Mindfluencer, because this award for which I went was Foodfluencer. So people who are influencing food, agriculture. But you are influencing mind, so you should get Mindfluencer award.
I like Ramji very much. No, I appreciate that, but I think you can, having gone through a corporate career and having evolved through the ranks and having transformed as a person, you can actually relate to that shift in that mindset, isn't it, sir?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. When one is gross, they are so much running behind the fruits and names and all that recognition or that applause. You are so desire prompted, but as that transformation happens, all that keeps dropping away. The work starts speaking for itself, and there's a cause that's driving you. With the great fervor, you keep doing your work silently, and unless until we come to know like this, we don't know of the great work. Many of us didn't know the exact work and how you have been influencing the society in your efforts. But if you keep magnifying that to a greater level, to the highest level, there is no attachment at all. There is no desire prompting at all, yet you carry on acting. See, as you start taking, we have to conceive that point of where there is no attachment and there's no desire.
Yeah.
You see it, sir? So
Yeah.
even if there is that lingering taste of a desire, it's not there in him. He has completely crossed it.
So actually, sir, I had this question in my mind. If I had no feeling for it, why did I go to Dubai for this? By going, did I show an interest in it? Okay, so, and I was trying to analyze myself after I wrote all that also, that why did I go if I had no feeling for it? So I think that is also something on which we have to think, because like I wrote before going also, that I had no interest or anything, but whether I get it or not, but if it comes, it is a recognition for the country. So that is something on which I was actually thinking that I should go, apart from the fact that they paid for all the expenses and everything. But it was more for that point of view. And if you get something like that, then others who are my, who keep tracking me also get inspired to do more. So that was the thing which was driving me. But this question will come in mind, that if you don't have desire, why do you go to such things?
I think your conclusion and your thought process justified your act, I believe. I suppose so. That you did for a purpose, it's not for your self-recognition. You did for putting the work, and the cause you're working perhaps needs traction, gains traction, momentum because of these applauds or recognitions. I remember when I had joined the ashram 32 years ago. I'm talking of the number of years because when I joined, there was a lady called Lakshmi Ganjawala, from Mumbai. She was, her name, and she was an athlete, and she had won in some, I think in swimming, she won something extraordinary. She had achieved, and she was being called by the president for a president's award. She got letter from the president's office to get an award, and she didn't even tell Swamiji about it. And they were very close. When I was on ashram, there were 10, 15 students, that's all. And she was very close to Swamiji, assisting with his work and things. She had known Swamiji even before the ashram started. He was a student of his and things. And when Swamiji came to know, he was so angry that why didn't she go? In fact, she did not go. I think the date was coming. She had to go, and she didn't even tell Swamiji about it. When Swamiji came to her, he said, you better go and receive the award, because it will bring Vedanta into perspective, because she's a fervor, great student of Vedanta. And when you say Vedanta, I'm a student of Vedanta, and I'm a sportsman, and I've done this, and I'm able to practice Vedanta in life, people will start perceiving you to Vedanta that can be practiced in day-to-day. It's not meant for post-retirement exercise. It's something you can live in your life. So Swamiji said, you should go and recognize, get the award. I know you don't have a value for that president's award. It means nothing to you. I know that. But go and receive for the cause of Vedanta. She did not go, sir. Swamiji tried his best to convince her, but she was such a tough nut to crack, believe me or not. Such a tough nut. She wouldn't hear anybody. She was a terror of the ashram. We're having dinner, sir, in the dining hall. 8 o'clock to 8:30 is dinner. 9 o'clock, we're all supposed to retire. If she sees the dining hall lights at 8:31, it's on, she will come. Doesn't matter who is sitting there. Even Swamiji is sitting there and talking, she'll come and switch off the lights and go. There was a time when Swamiji was sitting and guests were there. She came, walked into the dining hall, switched off all the lights and walked out. And even Swamiji had to keep quiet. And he's the man who's running the show, the ashram running because of him. And she was that kind of a terror, she was. Where Lakshmi, people are afraid running away, So that's another part of the story. But what I'm trying to tell is that thought is what you thought, I think, gels in. I suppose that rationale, you should continue, wherever, not for one's own self, but for the larger good of the work you're doing,
So when I came into agriculture field, I was supposed to go to medicine. Then I didn't get a seat in medicine, and next best alternative I came into agriculture. So many people, this was in 1972, my family members and my friends and others said, what agriculture, useless field, and then why are you getting into it? Try for medicine again next year. I had no interest in medicine, and then I came into agriculture also without knowing what it is fully. I had no full comprehension. But I have seen through my life that people who follow agriculture are not respected enough in the country. And this is one of the reasons why I always try to bring out that whatever I'm doing in agriculture, and I tell this to all my employees whenever, that this is a very noble cause you are doing because you are producing food for the people and you are helping the farmers. Without food, there is nothing, and without farmers, there is no food. So this is the thing which actually keeps pushing me. So whatever I write, whatever awards come or whatever it is, I see that as a reward for agriculture, and that actually enhances the position of agriculture in the society. So this is something which actually is on my mind always.
As he talks in the mantra that a man of realization, his lineage, none are ignorant. And I'm sure in your lineage, none will be ignorant of your efforts, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So he crosses over grief, he crosses over sin. We only understand relatively, but here is absolute sense. And then he lastly says, Guha Granthibhya, freed from the knots of the heart. Vimuktaha, from the knots of the heart. Vimuktaha, freed from the knots of the heart. The knots of the heart refers to avidya, ignorance, and from the ignorance comes kamaha and karmaha. So the knot of ignorance is avidya. From avidya is born kama, desire, and karma, action, which is exactly opposite of what we just said, which is crossing over grief and sin, where there is no desire for future nor attachment to what you have. The opposite of that is the knot of the heart refers to the avidya. So when you are freed from the avidya, which is karma and kama and karma, which is desire and action, you attain, or one attains, immortality. Such complete, wholesome. Each verse is, each mantra is so wholesome. It's been a fascinating study, studying and taking you all through the journey of the Mundaka Upanishad. We have come almost to the fag end. There are a couple of more mantras, which most likely we would conclude in the following satsang. Subsequently, following the conclusion of the Mundaka, will be effort put in to take up yet another beautiful Upanishad, the Kathopanishad. So we will be learning Kathopanishad after the conclusion of this. So the following class, if there is time after that, we can take up any questions, an opportunity for you all to sail through all the mantras of this particular text. So I would like to begin the Kathopanishad as a fresh when we come back a fortnight from now. All right, we'll conclude. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.